down here with Jerry Sargeant. He is a wizard. He is a healer through star magic, and we're going to get into that today. And he has trained thousands of people all around the world, over 70 countries, helping them learn how they can heal others and go within to heal themselves and walk in such an empowered light. He is also the author of 4 books. Healing with Light Frequencies is one of them. And we're going to get into that too. But really what it's about is helping individuals have the presence and be the best person that they can be and heal from within. Jerry, it is such a pleasure to be here with you today. The work that you do is phenomenal. Like the testimonials, the ability to see people that you've worked with go from not walking rather, and having a curved spine to being able to stand up straight. The work that you do is really magnificent. How did you get into the flow, into the space of creation where you realize that star magic and healing is what your work was going to be focused on?
Yeah, so it's a story.
Let's go.
Yeah. So I used to have a very different life, and now we're traveling the world, training lots of people with this frequency, empowering people, sharing the message of love and unity. And before that, I used to be very self-centered. I used to be a criminal. I used to smuggle drugs and guns, and I was involved in lots of high-profile bank fraud, and I loved it. I was young and I was crazy, and I took drugs, and I was just enjoying my life and earning money and thinking that all the things that I was getting and having were making me happy. But it was not really what was happening. Underneath, I was still a tormented little boy. I was still feeling rejected. I was still feeling like isolated and abandoned and never really comfortable in the world. And so having this kind of like persona, doing the work that I was doing, stealing money from banks, selling drugs, all this crazy stuff, I was able to hide this wounded little boy that was underneath. I didn't really realize that was what was happening at the time, but older and wiser I get, and the more I dive into this stuff, I realize that's what was really happening. And I was earning loads of money. I was buying Rolex watches and fast cars and suits and houses, and I could do whatever I wanted to do. So I never had a care in the world, and I never had any reason to change that. And then one day I was in a car crash, and I was with my ex-wife, my 2 children, and we were in Romania, traveling from Piatra to Bucharest airport. I was asleep in the taxi, and I heard a loud crash. I woke. No, we didn't hit anything. That was the thing. I woke up. The car's going from side to side. There's glass and there's wind. I'm thinking, man, we're in a bad accident. We're either going to hit the oncoming traffic, or the car's going to flip. And it all of a sudden we came to a stop. No other cars on the road. I've looked at the taxi driver. He looked petrified. Alea, our daughter, was underneath the driver's seat. There was no seatbelts in the taxi. Laura, my ex-wife, had Josh, our son, in their arms. Both their mouths are full of glass. There was a hole in the windscreen, and there was blood dripping down my face, but I wasn't bleeding. So I was like, what's happened? I couldn't work it out. So I get out of the car, I checked on the missus and kids, and then I looked like 30 metres up the road, and there's 2 ladies lying on the side of the road. I look about another 100 metres or so up the road, and there's what looks like a dead body. What had happened is 3 ladies were crossing the road in the morning. The first one got hit clean on. She came through the windscreen, smashed me in the face whilst I was asleep, got flipped over the car and died. Second one had her ankles cut off, and the third one was physically okay. Both of them were screaming. A guy had come out from a nearby factory. I thought he must have called the emergency services. I walked past the lady with her ankles on the floor, focused on what looked like a dead body. I get closer and closer, realise it's a dead body. Get within about 10 metres, and I see this energy like hovering above the body, which I now know is the lady's soul. I'd never seen anything like this up until this point. I didn't believe in God, the universe, infinite intelligence. I thought it was for crazy people. So anyway, I'm looking at this soul and I'm shaking my head, like wanting to see it but trying to get rid of it at the same time. I get closer and closer to the body. By the time I get there, the soul has fizzled off into the ether. I'm looking down at the lady's body. Her legs are wrapped up over her head. She's smashed to pieces. And it was like someone had taken an old car to the scrap heap. Like whatever this energy was in the body, it had no use for it anymore, so it had gone. So I saw this kind of separation, this connection, life and death, and I remember looking up to somewhere. Maybe I was looking to the heavens, I don't know. But I just said thank you. I felt so grateful that I had this opportunity. It was like the universe just smacked me around the face and said, Jerry, you need to wake up. You need to realize this world, this universe is so much more than what you're doing with your life. And so I had this experience, and then a few months later, my ex-wife had a headache in her head, and I saw it. It was a really bad migraine, and I saw this green energy in her head, and I went and grabbed it and pulled it out, and she got up off the bed like she never had a headache. I thought, that's a bit weird. And I just carried on kind of like just living my life. And then I met this lady who worked for Scotland Yard. She in the psychic division. She became a teacher of mine. Worked with her for a few years. She taught me how to remote view, how to bring my light out of my body and travel, how to collect information from the quantum field, lots of different things. And I was kind of like fast-tracked in a way. And then to cut a long story short, I went on this whole journey. We moved to New Zealand. I met some extraterrestrials when I was in New Zealand. They took me to another planet, downloaded these codes into me. I came back to England 4 years later. I started spending time in ancient mystery schools in meditation, and they showed me how to use these codes to heal people. I wrote my first book, Into the Light, and then everything just started kicking off. I met fairies and angels, and all these beings just started coming into my life. And at the same time, when I moved back from New Zealand, I got arrested at the passport office for conspiracy to defraud the Bank of Scotland and holding a false travel document. So I was looking at a prison sentence. So I'm on bail, I'm going backwards and forwards to the City of London and going through this whole thing, which lasted 2 years. All the time I'm learning more about healing. So I'm in this kind of like process, and all of my mates at the same time like, come on Jerry, come and do this, come and do that. So I was still doing the drug deal, this, that, earning quick money. At the same time, we were stealing money from banks, and I was giving it to charities in Africa. We started building water pipelines, schools, all different things. And when the letters came back and they were showing me what was happening with the money, it was making me cry. And I was realizing that I didn't need all this material stuff. I could actually do things for humanity. So all of this stuff was like a big melting pot of what was happening in my life. So I started to change, I started to care, I started to want to help people, and I was being drawn more into this kind of spiritual work and this healing work, but I had this court case hanging over my head. So I said to the universe, listen, I said, if you get me off this court case, I promise you, I'm going to throw everything to the side and I'm going to do this healing stuff. So when I went to court, I was stood in a bulletproof dock, and the judge walked in with his 2 accomplices, and the one to his right had wings on her back. And she looked at me and winked, and I'm like, no. Like, my mind was like, you're never going to get off this, but I felt it inside of me. All my skin went like chicken skin, you know? Yeah. And the police came out, the prosecution, they gave their side of the story. And then my solicitor gave our side of the story. In the meantime, I'd also been to the Philippines after the Typhoon Haiyan, but we rebuilt schools and villages. We put some permaculture projects in place. So we were giving back more. So I had all the letters from all of these kind of like sort of like humanitarian missions that we've been on. I gave them to the judge. They went out, they came back like 40 minutes later. And again, she looked at me and winked. And they said, listen, we can see you're a changed man. We're going to give you a 1-year conditional discharge and an £80 court fee. You're free to go. I walked out of the dock, and the police officer came up to me and she said, Jerry, you should have gone down for a very long time today. You're so lucky. And I was like, I know. And I just walked out, and that was it. I knew I had to commit to star magic. And so this was like 2015. And then 2016, we started it. We did our first training in 2017. The beings that took me in the spaceship to Alpha Centauri when I was in New Zealand, they came to see me again. They told me to write Healing with Light Frequencies, the Transformative Power of Star Magic, the book you mentioned earlier. So I wrote that, I designed the training program, put it online for February 2017, and people turned up from all over the world. And I was like, what are you doing here? I couldn't believe it. I was like, what are you coming to see me for? You know, it's nuts, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry, you've had such a journey, right? And it has been full of not knowing and understanding what may happen next, but doing what you were called to do when you were building schools in the Philippines and you were creating opportunities and experiences for people but you were also walking into your own gifts, right? You started seeing things around you. You started understanding and being pulled into other places. As everything was happening in your life, how did you know how to nurture the gifts that you're walking into and not be scared or deterred from them? Because many people have gifts, but sometimes if they're truly gifted, it can be a lot. It can be a little bit scary to be able to see things or see beings or see souls. And you mentioned the school of mystery, but what are ways that people that may be living their lives with a gift that they may not necessarily understand how to utilize, and then one day that gift is in their face and it's saying it's time, what do they do?
For me, I was just excited about it. I was like, wow. I mean, the thing is, when something is presented to you and it's undeniable, then you can't go back on that. And when I saw this lady's soul hovering above her body, it was real. Yeah. It wasn't something that was in my head. I was seeing it with my actual eyes. And then when you start taking headaches out of people, when you start, the bones start mending, and you're like, you don't know how you're doing it,
yeah,
but it's happening.
Yeah.
And then you start to put more of the pieces of the puzzle together. So for me, I've always been like this as a kid. Like if I find something out, I want to know about it, and I just won't rest until I find everything else, everything that I can. When I had my first spiritual teacher, she had this past life regression business, and I think it was 2007 around 2007, there was a little girl that went missing. Her name was Madeleine McCann, and it became a very public story for many, many years. She went missing when she was on holiday with her parents in Portugal. About a day after she went missing, I was in the gym in London. I was on the stepping machine in the morning, and she came into my head. And I started speaking to her. She was in a cave. I freaked out a little bit because I was like, man, what's going on? Yeah. So I went onto the Madeleine McCann website. I said, I think I know where your daughter is. Like, I don't know, I just did it, you know? And then I phoned up this lady that was my spiritual teacher, and I told her what I saw. She said, you better come and see me. So she lived about a 3-hour drive from where I was in London.
Wow.
So I get in the car, I'm driving up the road to see her, and something is trying to make me crash my car into the central reservation. Like, I had to use all of my energy to keep the car on the road.
Yeah.
But this was something like that was in me that was trying to make me do it. And this is a whole other story, because we all have dark and light inside of us, and it's easy for them to tap in. So they didn't want me to go and see her because of what I'd found out. So I went to see her. I sat down in the space with her, and we went in and we remote viewed where she was. We saw she was in a cave. We came out of the cave. We walked down the cliff sides. We found this kind of like metal post. We got all the digits off it. We looked out to the ocean. We saw these islands. We then went to a market town and we heard a conversation. We got the name of the market town. So we've got all this information. We then came out of this kind of remote viewing session, and because she worked for Scotland Yard, she phoned them up and she said, listen, I'm with a client of mine, and we think that we've tracked Madeleine to Algeria.
Wow.
And Scotland Yard turned around and said, yeah, I know, we found her, we've tracked her ourselves already. And we're assembling a team to go in and get her. But before she got extracted, she got sold. But this is a whole other story. But the reason I'm telling this story is because it gave me the confirmation that what I was seeing, all this information we were getting from the field, real-time information, the psychics in Scotland Yard were getting the same information. So it gave me that confirmation and that confidence. This stuff is real. Yeah. There's been many experiences that I've had like that, where I've got confirmations, and confirmation breeds confidence. Yeah. And when we're training people to heal with star magic, one of the first or second slides that we show people is confirmation builds confidence. So when people are experiencing information during the training, we encourage them to share it. Because it might seem like the craziest, wackiest bit of information, but it actually really means something in the quantum field. So practicing and experiencing and getting results, you build that confidence, and it happens in different ways. So this is what has kept me going. All these little pieces of confidence, all these little experiences, they've just stacked up and stacked up and stacked up, and you know that this stuff is real. Yeah, it is real. You've shared so much about your journey, Jerry, and we're going to go back to that in a moment. But I'd love for you to share more with those that are tuning in about what the essence of star magic is all about, because you have that innate ability within you to heal people from
ailments that they've gone to the doctors, they've taken the medicine, it hasn't worked, and you've been able to heal them, but you also train people and teach people how to hone in on that ability themselves. So can you spend a little bit of time talking about the work that you do through Star Magic one-on-one directly, but also through the teaching and the training that you provide to people, because you're really helping them see another part of themselves and contributing to healing in this world.
I think the first point to mention is this, like, we don't train anyone to heal. Like, I'm not a healer, even though I call myself a healer, and this is really important.
And I've heard you say this before, so I'd love for you to dive into this.
Yeah, like, we use the word healer because it's great for marketing, and everybody's looking for healing.
Yeah.
But really, I'm a facilitator, and we train facilitators because nobody can heal anyone. It's rubbish. What we do is we create an environment so someone can heal. So everybody is designed to be healthy. We're not designed to be ill. Nobody should be ill.
Yeah.
But we run programs mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically. There's all different things happening in our external environment that poison us and make us ill, but that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But the physical body is designed to be healthy. If you look at a waterfall, like look at the Niagara Falls. If you go to it today, it's going to look like the Niagara Falls. And tomorrow it will look the same, and the day after it will look the same, but it's fresh running water. Okay, it's fresh water through it all the time, but it looks the same. Our bodies are the same. You look at me today, I look like Jerry. You look at me in a few months, I look like Jerry. But every 11 months, we're a completely new makeup of atoms, molecules, chemicals, fibers. So how is it that we stay ill? Well, we stay ill because we think things and feel things, and we block the flow of energy. So when I go in to work on someone, I don't view them as a human. I look at them as a computer system. So I bring up a hologram of them, and that hologram gives me information. So say, for example, you come to me and you say, Jerry, listen, I've got an issue with my liver. And, you know, I then know that I know you've got anger issues, and I know that you've got guilt issues, because it's in your liver. Like, the body's a communication device. The neck is about stubbornness and rigidity. The hips are about direction. Like, everything means something. So what I'm going to do is tap into the back end of their biological computer and find the reality field where their deepest trauma lies, to do with anger and guilt, or maybe just anger, or maybe guilt, or maybe both, or it might be several realities. So I'll find those in the quantum field, and I will change them. And then once I change them, the information stream running into the biological computer, the body and brain, is different. Just like a computer virus. If you take the virus out of the computer, it's going to function.
It runs so much differently.
Absolutely.
It's not slow anymore. You don't have to control Alt, Delete, and close tabs. It just is flowing.
It's exactly the same with healing, man. We go in, we're like computer programmers. We change the code, and the physical human changes.
Yeah. So you shared earlier that you were in New Zealand and Star Magic codes were given to you.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you, and how did you know what to do with the codes? Was it like it was direct? Did you have to interpret? Did you have to allow trust to come in? Was it a kind of a combination, or neither? But how did you know? Like, because sometimes wisdom is put into people and it confuses them. They don't know what to do. So for those that are tuning in, there's something was instilled in their heart and in their mind, and it was meant to show them how to take that next step. Like, what did you do, and what would you tell them?
So the way that it all transpired was, I met an old guy, and he taught me how to meditate. I'd never meditated before New Zealand. And so he had a pyramid in his garden, a copper pyramid. I used to go around there every day. We set up a health and fitness centre in New Zealand, a mixed martial arts gym. So I was working in there in the daytime, going around his house in the afternoon, evening time, and sitting in this pyramid. And he taught me to meditate with my eyes open. I had some amazing experiences in there. But one day I'm sat there, and this little space pod lands in the garden outside the pyramid to the right. And I'd had my training with the lady in Scotland Yard, so I knew how to bring my light out of my body. So I brought my light out of my body. I went and got in the spacecraft. When I got inside of it, there was a blue being in there. His name's Derek White. He still works with me now.
Oh, okay.
And he's from Lyra. And he placed my consciousness above water on the other side of this portal and on a planet. And then it's like we flew through the portal, but I already knew where we were going to, but then the rest of me caught up. And then I got out of the space pod, walked up the beach, and there were like 200 of these blue beings, and they were my family from Lyra, and they hugged me, and I was so emotional. Like I felt a level of love that I've never ever experienced. It was so beautiful. And they hugged me for a little while. I don't know how long, it just seemed forever, and I didn't want it to end, but then it ended. They take me up the beach. One of them did. We walked through this like jungle, like this forest, then this like pyramid made of light. They take me in there and ask me to kneel on the floor. There was this really old Lyran in there. I don't know how old this being was. It could be thousands of years. It reminded me, like if you go to like a Native American reservation and you meet a chief. It was like meeting a chief from space. So I went in there, I knelt down on the floor, and all of this orange light started pouring down into my crown, and there was all this code in it, and it was like this spiralized geometry, not like the textbooks with the straight edges that you get here.
Yeah.
So it was pouring into my crown. The download finished, and then two of them picked me up underneath my arms and frog marched me back to the spaceport. They stuck me inside and flew me back into the garden. They get out, go and sit back in my body, boom. Nothing happens for 2 years. I'm waking up every day, like, come on, what's next?
2 years?
Yeah, nothing happened. And I'm in the gym every day, you know, like everything's going well. The kids are in school in New Zealand, and we're really happy. But then one day I wake up and I get this feeling in my body, we have to go back to England. I didn't know why we had to go back, but we did. So after persuading my ex-wife and children, because they didn't want to go back, we were happy in New Zealand, we put a manager in charge of our gym, packed our house up, flew back to England. Then I was out running one Sunday morning and I see some fairies around a tree. I stop, I'm looking at these fairies, and then an angel comes down. And the angel says, my name's Archangel Gabriel, you need to write a book. So I said, well, what's the book called? He said, it's called Into the Light. So I ran home, I wrote the book. It took me 4 weeks, I published it, and then I started seeing all this code. And it was the same code that came in the orange download in Alpha Centauri. So I'm saying to my guides, what am I supposed to do? They said, you're being lazy, you're not meditating enough. So I started getting up every morning and meditating with my son Josh. And we ended up in these ancient mystery schools underneath the pyramids. And we're in these classrooms. You know when you're like 4 or 5 years old and you're at school, you have the wooden desks that lift up?
Go like this.
Yeah, I was sat at one of those.
Yeah.
And I looked around and there's loads of other humans in there. And there's a man at the front of the classroom. He's getting out these scrolls. And it's the same, on the scrolls are codes. Same codes I'm seeing in the space, same codes in the orange download of light. So Josh and I went to these mystery schools for 9 months, every day for 2 hours, and they were showing us how to use the codes. Then people started coming into my life that needed healing. And I was like, right, let me just see if this stuff works. And it was working. So one day I went to a Mind, Body, Spirit festival. I took my book Into the Light. My daughter Alea came with me. I gave a little talk, and I got some really like crappy little cards that just said energy healing on it to promote and stuff. They were black and they were horrible. And I got an Excel spreadsheet, and I said to people, listen, put your name down. At the end of the weekend, I'm going to draw 3 names out of the hat. And if your name comes out, I'll phone you and I'll give you a free healing. And about 70 or 80 people put their names down. And I phoned all of them and said they'd won so I could practice. So I had all these people to practice on. So I was just practicing for a couple of weeks, getting really good results. So I phoned them all back up. I said, listen, I'm coming to your house to have a cup of tea. I'm bringing my video camera. You've got to give me a testimonial and tell me what happened. So I ended up going around the place and just getting all these testimonials. Then I thought, you know what? I've got proof now. You know, people are going to believe me. So then I set the website up and got started. So for anyone listening, what I would say is when you get some kind of experience, take action on it. Don't think, oh, what if this, what if that? Oh, people are going to think I'm weird and strange. As soon as I started Star Magic, the pharmaceutical industry created loads of websites about me, calling me Harry Potter and all this sort of stuff. In 2017, I got arrested for healing people with cancer. Went through a court case. They tried to put me in prison. Only reason I didn't go to prison is because I was a single father, homeschooling my 2 children, and they were under 16. And they came to court with me.
That was the second time.
yeah. So I didn't go to prison that time.
Yeah.
And so it's about just kind of being a bit blinkered. Knowing that you've got these abilities, or knowing that you've got these gifts, whatever it is that you're downloaded with, and seeing it through. Don't think about what's happening in the external environment. Don't think about how people are judging you. Just go for it. Just absolutely go for it.
Go for it. And also have the patience. You said it was 2 years since you first received your codes, but it was a dedication, it was an intentionality to kind of further understand as you started meditating. Meditation was the kind of vehicle that allowed you to connect with the messages that were being sent to you that allowed you to create Star Magic. You have Star Magic. You also have your Infinity program. It's the monthly program where people can tap into what is going on in your world, but also not even your world, like tap into what you are sharing with the world that enables people to go within. Can you talk a little bit about your Infinity program as well as the new ambassadorship that's coming up?
Yeah, so Infinity, it's an ascension toolkit. It's got meditation, light language transmissions, light codes that you can stare at. It's got cosmic yoga, there's nutrition, exercise, breath work, there's mystery school teachings, hundreds of them on different subjects, everything spirituality, ascension, healing, all of that stuff. Extraterrestrials, you name it.
Yeah.
We meet every Monday and Wednesday for the frequency spa, for the weekly meditation. We meet on Zoom for DNA activations. Every second Sunday we do something called Fearless Focus, which is the Star Magic lifestyle we train everybody in. And so it's just a whole bunch of tools. You can download the app on Android or Apple and just plug into these tools. Once you download, you can book a Star Buddy call. We have these Star Buddies. The Star Buddy will jump online, show you around Infinity, show you how to get started. There's playlists, there's plans, there's journeys that you can take. And it's just the best way to keep your frequency high, keep your mind clear, keep your heart open, raise your levels of abundance and alchemy, and just become your superhuman version.
Yeah.
And so what we're introducing very soon is the Ambassador Program. And the Ambassador Program is an opportunity for people to come into Star Magic, become an ambassador, and introduce their brothers and sisters to Infinity. So they can get paid money, loads of bonuses, and at the same time they're empowering their human family. Yeah, they create a freedom lifestyle for themselves. They can earn lots of money from anywhere they want on the planet, just by having their phone and making a few posts, and we've got all of the marketing materials that they just need to go and do it and just post and
show up.
Yeah.
For those that don't understand the world of the cosmic or what could occur by going through mystery school, what is it that you want people to know about energy, vibration, and how or what, the benefits of understanding the cosmic world can kind of shift things for them? Because some people that are attuned or in tune and are learning more, and some people are like, cosmic energy, mystery school, what is this about? What would you want them to know?
Yeah, and this is a massive question.
I know.
Massive question. So,
but I think people want to know,
Yeah. So you got to kind of break it down a little bit. So let's say you got the mystery school, okay, all the teachings that we've got, they're not just on energy and vibration. We cover the darker side of healing too, so witchcraft, shadow entities, shadow parasites, demonic entities, interdimensional entities, all of these things that are around in the field that most people don't realize.
Yeah.
So we have teachings to help people get rid of all of that stuff.
Clear it out. We teach people how to leave their body and go traveling around the universe. There's all of those kind of skill sets within the mystery school teaching, which is one thing. Then you've got Stargate travel. You've got how to change your mathematical code so you can travel through Stargates. How to change your mathematical code so your original blueprint comes online and your DNA gets activated. That's another element of the mystery school teachings. Then you've got kind of all of this kind of like cosmic energy, frequency, vibration, which we all need to kind of raise the levels of our frequency and vibration so we can vibrate at a new level. And as we vibrate at a new level, the world around us starts to show up at that level too. Yeah.
So raising your energy levels and raising your vibration and amplifying your life all go hand in hand. So
Jerry, in closing, are there any messages that you'd like to share with individuals out there, whether you shared it in the past, shared it with a friend, or it's just on your heart and it came to you in this moment that you'd like to get out there? Please share with our audience.
So we are sisters and brothers on planet Earth, and we all bleed red blood. We all have eyes, a nose, 2 arms, 2 legs. We might be black or white or rich or poor, but ultimately, within that human body, there is a soul, and if you look into the eyes of any human being on planet Earth, you're going to see that light, you're going to see that frequency, you're going to see that energy, and you're going to realize that there's something fundamentally inside every single one of us that is the same. And if we can connect to that, if we can open our hearts and live from that state of higher frequency vibration, that level of love, and connect at that deeper level of consciousness, we can unify as a human species. We can come together and make the world a much better place. We can love each other, we can be kind to each other, we can move through this human reality with no judgment, in pure acceptance, in pure allowance, from a space of sovereignty and freedom, where we don't judge our sisters and brothers, we allow them to be however they show up, and they allow us to be however we want to show up. And then within that, people will expand and unite and come together, and we will create heaven on earth. And heaven isn't something outside of us, heaven is in our hearts. And if we do this as individuals, and we come together and we do this in numbers, the whole world's going to change in a rapid rate. We have the power to do this. You have so much alchemy inside of you. You have so much magic. You have all of the energy that's available. There's suns, moons, stars, planets, universes, galaxies, multiverses in every cell in your body. So much firepower. So take a deep dive into the labyrinth of your heart. Ask yourself the questions to your answers, and your heart will produce those answers. And you will step into a greater sense of awareness, a deeper level of knowing, and you will activate your superhuman potential. You are the one you've been waiting for, beautiful soul. It's all on you. Take responsibility.
You are the one that you have been waiting for. A message here from Jerry. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm looking forward to people hearing you share in Pillars of Power. I know that there's a few things that you've said in there that are going to connect with people in a super real and raw way. Until next time, I have so many more questions to ask you. So today we're going to put a pause, and I know that you'll be back, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time, everyone.